right now.
Birds like that,
Exactly.
mountain, one palm tree.
You have this plain ass land, this house exactly in the center, this river flowing
And the
beside,
same kind of house, like it was repeated.
2 or 3 mountains, the sun in between, some few birds that look like what we
Yeah,
keep.
absolutely.
And instead, we're all in about bringing these elements down that we've just drawn as a child.
Our relation with nature as a humanity globally is getting more and more fractured because we've become a planet of humans for humans, and we believe that our planet is here for us to use and abuse at will. The shift when I shifted to the farm happened for me. That this isn't about connecting people to nature at all.
Right.
It's really about connecting people to themselves. When you want a break, how many people go to, a lot of people at least will like to travel to places that are quieter, more peaceful.
Right.
So we are seeking nature. And I think that if you're given any amount of struggle or adversity, as profound and spiritual as I might sound, I think every problem is given to you because you have it in to create the solution. I'm living in a plush apartment, living up my life with 40 pairs of shoes and a bunch of dresses, driving a swanky car. How the fuck can I go and tell people to do something I am not able to do? And that तेरे कर्म में जब होगा जाके सेवा करनी है तू करेगी.
Right.
अगर तेरे कर्म में नहीं है तो उसके ऊपर रो मत.
That's true. The fact that this planet is something, this is what we're leaving our children with, not the wealth, the possessions, or whatever. If you're a person who has a thing for nature, then you're bound to make sure that you fall in love with it. Then why do we destroy that very same nature? That's a question that needs to be pondered upon. Our featured guest today is one of those personalities that plays an important role, not only in the conservation of our surroundings, but also in the mentorship and nurturing of a generation of caretakers that'll be leading or that are present day leading initiatives to preserve our surroundings for a better tomorrow. Pooja Bhale, is that how you pronounce the surname?
That's perfect.
Okay, it's a pleasure having you today. Or let's say we feel honored to be here today at the farm. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you,
Do-
Azad.
If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, especially when it comes to what you are passionate about.
Thank you, Azad, for having me here, and it's a mutual honor. It's a mutual honor to have our work covered. I can tell you lots about myself, but I will keep it succinct. As one can tell with this little Simba sitting in my lap, things that I'm passionate about usually have a lot to do with nature, have a lot to do with environment. But over the years, what I've realized is being in love with nature, feeling a connection to nature has never been enough. And for myself, over the years, what I've started recognizing is what I'm deeply passionate about is creating impact. Right? So I'm a trained wildlife biologist. So I studied wildlife biology and conservation. I've had a single driven passion since I was 11 or 12 years old. I took part in my first activism campaign at the age of 13 in the city of Pune to protect some trees. And as sort of, I went into wildlife because wildlife is a sexy looking field. You get to work with the big mammals, you get to do all the fun stuff. But I had a very wise professor at university who said that conservation is not about wildlife, conservation is about people. It is people that need to be shown the way. It is people that are destroying the planet. It is people that need to learn what they can do because the planet's been around for 5 billion years. She's wise and far beyond you and I and collective humanity. So I remember Professor Richard Lindsay telling us in one class that conservation is about people, and you will end up spending more time working with people than you will actually with animals unless you are a veterinarian or working with animals specifically for their upkeep or something. So I think that really stayed with me, and I realized that it is people that we need to tell or speak to or show or inspire. And that is essentially what we've been doing now for 13 years.
Wonderful.
With Protecterra. But I'll talk about that in a bit, I guess.
Yep, absolutely. So, coming to that in a bit. Now, Pooja, you've come from a privileged family, from a concrete home to the farm here in Pune. That's like 8 years of your life here, am I right?
9 very soon.
All right. versus 30 years of your life.
40 very
40.
soon.
And I believe you've even lived in a tent over here. Am I right? That's
Yeah.
how you started? Um, what made you prepare for this transition?
You know, Azad, this is one of the questions that comes up all the time, and my answer hasn't wavered for years together. So to put some timelines, right, I turned 40 this March of 2024, and I've spent 30 years in the city of Pune. I've lived in London, I've lived in Delhi, I've lived in Mumbai. So I've lived in the biggest metropolises of our world. And a lot of people ask me, how did the transition feel? How
Okay.
did it feel to come and live in a canvas tent, uh, in a makeshift kitchen? Um, what was the shift like? What prepared you, like you just
Yeah.
asked me? And I think that the question has to flip.
Right.
The question that needs to be asked to a person like me is, how did you survive in that city for 31 years? Because this has been a homecoming. It's been coming back to everything I knew I've always wanted.
Right.
But you're growing up, you're living with your parents, you've been shown a certain life, you're, also still trying to break away from the shackles of what society might put you in. But I never belonged there. The first chance I got, I always ran to the forest. The first opportunity I got, I put my hands into the soil. I was that kid in school who would look out the window and find the birds in the trees and always get thrown out of class, because sitting in walls has just never been my thing. I knew that very young. So shifting to the farm back in 2015 was almost like, हाँ अभी बस हो गया, it is time to go. So there was no, of course, there's apprehension because you don't know where life's heading. You're
Right.
moving out of what you've known all your life. But that's the thing. For me, this is what I've known all my life. That this is where I eventually have to get. I have to come back to nature. For now, okay, I'm in the city, I'm doing my thing, but it's never been somewhere I felt comfortable or at home or like I belong. So the question has to change to, okay, how did you manage in the city when this feels so good?
Right. Right. And I see that you've given a lot of credit to your mom. I mean, especially the books that she made you read back in the days. Um, I mean, I'm referring to the people who would have inspired to create the puja that we see today, right? Support systems and things like that. Could you tell us a bit about that journey and that inspiration as well? There's certain books that you've read and experiences that
Yeah.
you've had as well.
So it's of course it's mom, because my dad is an industrialist. He's had businesses. So
I heard
it's
he's a sportsman as well.
he was a rallyist. He
Okay.
was a rally. I come from a very sports heavy family.
Right.
Like all of us play sport even today. Like my mom's a table tennis player. My dad's a badminton player even today. I was married to a badminton player. I currently date a rugby player. It seems to be a theme in life. And if I weren't doing this, I would be a professional sportsman. My brother's been a snooker player. My sister's been a swimmer. I've been a ball player. So it's sort of just around us all the time. Uh, Mom has been one of those women who was far ahead of her time.
Okay.
Always, she's an entrepreneur at heart. My dad's also an incredible man. So though a lot of the times when it comes to nature and wildlife, I give an immense amount of credit to Ai, because she read books. She introduced me to the world. It's where the seeds got sown. But to undermine Baba's contribution to enabling us to even go to the forest and trusting that my two girls are just going to, up it and disappear into tiger reserves whenever they want, not be reachable. Ka mobile the, you couldn't really reach. We've grown up in a time, Azad, where you had to go to the PCO to call your parents, and
Right.
it was not like we were on. Today, children can just be reached.
I
Back
guess
then,
that's
it
only
was
something both of us can relate to.
PCOs were these things, right straight at the camera, where you have to go into a little box and call.
Yeah.
So when you see it in Bollywood movies that somebody goes into a booth to call, we lived in that
भाई साहब
time.
थोड़ा और change मिलेगा. I need some coins.
Yeah, and you ran out of coins. No, I have only 30 seconds. But we lived at that time, and the trust they put, my sister and I used to travel a lot, but the trust that both parents put was very important. Like you said, I come from a very privileged family of Pune. Have lived an extremely opulent, very, very comfortable life. And travel, animals, adventure has been a theme in my family. My parents also, are people who've had a love marriage, defied society, done their own thing, set up their businesses, broken the glass ceiling in their time. So it wasn't something that was, it was almost normal for us kids to do something different. It wasn't like they were in a rut and we had to pave our way. Mama read 3 books. 3 books are instrumental in my love for nature. For everybody who knows about wildlife, Jim Corbett is a stalwart. But my story goes a little further. There was this incredible book by the Children's Book Trust and the National Book Trust. 2 books. One was about an elephant called Mora. It's a very small little 20-pager. And I still have 2 copies of it. I have the original copy Mama used to read as well. And it was about a little baby elephant who gets separated from the mother because the father gets shot by poachers for ivory and the mother gets captured for work. And it's about Mora's story and how he finds his way. And it moved me. Like, I read it to children even today, and I cannot do it without crying. It stayed with me, and Mora was, it's such a beautiful little story. And the other story was about this book called the Kaziranga Trail. Kaziranga is a tiger reserve in Assam, and the Kaziranga Trail was about 3 school children who are going to be breaking a poaching racket.
Oh, wow.
About rhinos. So one would imagine that why am I reading such like dark, heavy books?
At
But
what
I was
age was this?
7, 8
Okay.
odd.
Wow.
Like either mom used to read those or we were reading them. And then I came across a book called The Youngest Messiah. And The Youngest Messiah was about a boy with a disability who is able to hear animals.
Wow.
And he is also going and breaking a poaching racket. And interestingly, 20 years later, my first professional job was with India's largest anti-poaching organization. And I don't think it's a coincidence that I landed up there,
Yeah.
because I grew up reading
Yeah.
these things. They moved me. They made me think like, and they were all children.
Right.
Mora was a baby. In the Kaziranga Trail, it's 3 schoolboys.
All right.
In The Youngest Messiah, he's a young schoolboy. So as a child, it was like, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be an adult or earn money or do something to create impact. You can do it wherever you are. If these guys could, they were like little heroes. You can. And they were very instrumental. And then, of course, stories about nature are abound. Jim Corbett, Kenneth Anderson, Billy Arjan Singh. Then the books just kept flowing.
Right.
But
that's a
these
very
3
important point that you said. Like, young minds visualizing themselves as being the change maker. That's profound. But here's something funny. I mean, when we were kids, when we were told to draw nature, we'd end up drawing the scenery. You know the
Always.
typical, it comes in your mind right now.
Birds like that,
Exactly. So
mountain, one palm tree.
you have this plain ass land, this house exactly in the center, this river flowing
And the
beside.
same kind of house, like it was repeated.
2 or 3 mountains, the sun in between, some few birds that look like what we
Yeah,
shaped.
absolutely.
I mean, that is some template that we've grown up around.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't understand, but that's the sort of young mind connect that was there. That's about it. And then when we want to experience it as a grown up, we just go to some kind of a retreat for a day or 2 or a few days. We call it like an expedition or an adventure or whatever. And then we come back. We're not ready to be part of it or be in it our whole lives. This is something that you've done. And instead, we're all in about bringing these elements down that we've just drawn as a child.
Yeah.
Be it the mountains, be it the streams, be it whatever. That
Profoundly
one
spoken.
tree in that drawing.
The little house just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Exactly. I mean, what is the average human's present day relationship with the earth? Because what do you think we've come down to and why?
I mean, I still am laughing about that picture in my head because it's crazy that, you and I have no connection with each other, but we draw the same picture. It's amazing, isn't it?
I think we all do.
It's amazing. I remember going to my therapist for the first time and she had asked me to draw a picture. And that's exactly what I drew. And then she deciphered it. She's like, you have this and this. And I'm like, yaar, bas bachpan mein seekha hai. Itna kyun usko decipher kar rahe ho that these are the concerns I have. But yeah, to go back to it, that's a very wonderful question actually. I would like to honestly say that we, I'll speak specifically about Indians, because we're in India right now.
You're right.
We have an extremely deep spiritual reverence to nature itself.
Oh, yeah.
Our scriptures teach us this. In India, all the ancient religions, the non-Abrahamic religions, have always been very paganistic in nature and have
Right.
always had, deities in nature. Trees are gods. The sun is God. Everything is divine.
Even Buddha went for a retreat and then found
then found himself. But there's a deep connection, and it is there present day also. What has happened is that we are not at all mindful of it.
Absolutely.
It isn't that it's missing. Our relation with nature as a humanity globally is getting more and more fractured because we've become a planet of humans for humans, and we believe that our planet is here for us to use and abuse at will. That doesn't take away from the fact that we are actually quite considerate on most days.
Okay.
I mean, acts of kindness, acts of love, acts of care are more and more there when you pay attention. I might, maybe today morning is just a very positive morning. However, because we work at Protecterra largely with children, in 20 years of work, I'm yet to come across a child who doesn't have a connection with nature. And that is where my hope lies.
It's innate.
That something shifts. Something shifts. That's Oslo. This is Missy.
And look who's here.
Osly Posley? She came and sniffed you.
She wanted to join the podcast.
Hi, Missy. I already have one cat and one lap. What to do?
That's not fair. That's what she said.
I have only one lap, Boo Boo. And you and Simba are going to sit and cuddle? Oh, sure, I say. This is very rare, by the way. I think this is just for the shoot. This doesn't happen. This is Simba, this is Missy.
And somebody's feeling jealous.
No, he can't sit in my lap. He never did. He's a husky. I don't like laps. So, it's innate, like you said. Children don't have a fractured relation with nature. A child is not going to pick up a rock and hit an animal unless and until he's seen an adult around them do it. So when we speak of us, and given that in India our largest population is our youth and our youngies, there is immense amount of hope about the way our relation with nature is innately.
Right.
It is the adult mind that has an extremely fractured relation, not with nature, with themselves. And that is where about 8 years ago, the shift when I shifted to the farm happened for me. That this isn't about connecting people to nature at all.
Right.
It's really about connecting people to themselves. Because where you started out, how can you destroy something that you love? How can you make such a mess of what you love, but then you don't have any connection? आपका कुछ संबंध ही नहीं है तो क्यों आप ख्याल रखेंगे, right?
Right.
And that is essentially what it is, that we breathe it, we eat it, it's around us all the time, we wake up to the sun, we appreciate it, we enjoy the rain, it's all there. We are not mindful about the fact that we are not above it, we are just a part of it.
But you say this because you are in such an environment and you've always longed to be in it. But for a lot of us, it's that populated place. There's hardly any clean air to breathe.
Yeah, but still you'll keep a plant in your house.
Oh, yeah.
And still you will,
It's that wannabe or makeshift that we do.
The desire is there.
Right.
Creating the opportunity is the key. It is opening somebody's eyes. It is not possible for a human being to not have a connection with nature.
True.
It is just not possible. Because we come from the source of life, the earth, and we go to her, right, in whichever form.
Yes,
we are
yes.
made of the 5 elements that our planet is made of. We are just not aware of the fact that how dependent we are on her and how integral to our life she is.
That's true.
How much ever you're in a city, हर किसी के घर में एक तो पौधा रहेगा.
Yeah.
They try to bring nature back,
Yeah.
but they just don't.
At least money plant, something like that.
कुछ ना कुछ तो है.
Yeah, there's a belief that it brings something to it.
Something or the other is there. Even if वो नहीं हो रहा है, even if you're not able to do it, you will sit outside and look at the rain and enjoy it. When you want a break, how many people go to, a lot of people at least will like to travel to places that are quieter, more peaceful.
Right.
So we are seeking nature.
That's
And I
true.
think just taking that and making people realize that, you know what, you're seeking it, you're asking for it, you're living with it, you like it. Here,
Just
here's
make
the
that the
opportunity.
gold standard.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
be mindful of the fact that it's there all the time. And COVID did a beautiful job there.
indeed.
Everybody in COVID only said, "Bhai, bahar jana hai. I want to be in fresh air. I want to be in nature." So God bless COVID because it opened up so many eyes in so many different ways.
When we went for a walk yesterday, and that touched me too, because you mentioned about things you've seen during COVID which you wouldn't have seen. You were telling me about the mountain ranges behind something that we see every day, but there's something behind that parda or whatever you call it, and all it needed was that smog to have just taken a break, and you see you see a better nature, you see the more vast expanse. Something, I mean,
It's
that's
similar to what we just said, no? पर्दा खोलना ज़रूरी है.
right.
सबको पता है उसके पीछे क्या है. Everybody
Right.
is aware of what's right behind it. It's not that we are blind to it.
Yeah.
It's just fractured. We don't have the time. We have been the capitalist exploitative systems of where we need to be as a people have taken away from our ability to reconnect. It's
Even
not that there's no
think,
desire.
to even think, isn't it?
Yeah.
But coming to the thinking and the doing, you faced struggles pretty much from the start.
That's because I seem to like "Aa Bel Mujhe Mara" type story. I didn't have to. It's something I seem to choose.
And I've heard about that first time incident on how you went off to save this tree in Pune, the environmentalist movement.
Yeah.
Now, could you share that particular moment all the way to this present day in terms of struggle and the kind of adventures that you've faced?
There's two ways, right? I believe adversity is a blessing. I think that if you're given any amount of struggle or adversity, as profound and spiritual as I might sound, I think every problem is given to you because you have it in to create the solution. So the wiser me, the me today, who's not in the struggle, is aware of the fact that that adversity came as an immense blessing because I wouldn't be here.
Note the point, Your Honor.
I was what, 12? 12, 13 maybe, a little here or there, when that campaign on Ferguson Road of Pune happened, where my friend and I printed little pamphlets, got a small budget to do some photocopies, and called an organization Green Alert, so painted a green triangle and went distributing pamphlets saying Save Ferguson Road's trees. The banyan still stands. I still meet her every time I am there. तब कहाँ लगा था struggle? It was just like ये करना है, boss. These trees.
That's a default setting.
हाँ, it's a default setting, literally. ये करना है. Struggles have actually not come with the work, Azad. Struggles have come with the with people.
People. Yeah.
It's people management, it's resource management, it's micromanagement, it's looking at the lack of general integrity in the world, a general chalta hai attitude. I'm a bit of a...
And it's supposed to be general, like you said.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I might not sound very nice saying this, but I think I'm a bit of a rarity when it comes to certain things that I believe in. And I'm flummoxed with the lack of it around me. I don't understand it, which has been the real struggle.
All right.
Yeah, the water that came in the tent when there was a flood at the farm was okay. ठीक है, अभी आया क्या करना है यार, पानी आ गया. We'll fix this shit tomorrow.
Yeah.
The having to work with the people to fix it tomorrow was the challenge, not the fact that water came in.
Yeah. Madam, ye kya hai? What is this you're into?
No more than like, I mean that's just an example. Of course, they were very supportive, everybody who was around me, but the challenges for me have been more about people, their egos, their and me as a person. No, I can't just lay the blame on other people. The fact that I have had inabilities to be able to work with people, I have massive control issues with the way I imagine things, so I like things done a certain way. So it's been a huge... Nature's been an incredible teacher to let go of control as well.
Right.
Because Lao Tzu said very wisely, uh, there is no hurry in nature, and yet everything is accomplished.
Okay.
So it's a huge part of letting go of my internal capitalism also that has been the struggle. I want things done. So they took the puja out of the city, but the city to leave puja is still taking time, and it's still prevalent in me where, uh, the colonialism that we go through our education, the mind that has to do it a certain way, structure, methods को mark दो, result छोड़ दो, methods को भी marks मिलेंगे. So one of the biggest things I've let go of in this whole struggle and adversity and challenges has been the fact that by method को marks नहीं मिलेंगे, बस रिजल्ट बताओ मेरे को.
Right.
क्योंकि like you would have been at school at the same time, where आप maths के sum में you'll reach the same sum, but if your method is not what the teacher taught you, you don't get the extra 2 marks, even though the result has been the same. Like my dad taught me my mathematics, and he taught me the way he learned it.
Right.
But I realized very recently that that was the part then in method matters. So ये ऐसे ही करना पड़ेगा. Nowadays I'm just like कसपन कर, do it however you like, do it.
Right.
So a lot of things like this have been the real challenge in the story, but it's brought about so many adventures, right? Your second part of the question was the adventures that came out. It's an immense amount of fun also. It's wonderful to watch myself peel away, to watch people open their hearts, for them to flourish. And animals, my God. To be surrounded by animals has been the biggest gift, because you can look at them. I remember the day my tent got flooded, and Eleanor, my cat, who's now left her body, was just sitting in my laundry basket looking at me saying meow. And I looked at her. My knees had buckled because I hadn't imagined what would happen. And very few times I've lost the courage to stand. That was one of those days. And Ellie just looked at me and she's like, meow. And I was like, yeah. Abhi kya, pani to aa gaya hai. I removed my shoes, put them on the side of my bed, wiped my feet from my bed, went into my bed and had the most peaceful sleep that night, because the worst was beyond me already.
Right.
There was water in my house.
The calm after the storm.
I was just like, there's nothing to do, and that's what Ellie just showed me. She's like, Ma, just come sleep. no shit you can do right now. There's no point in threatening.
And how do you deal with yourself when you realize that you are actually going against the tide in terms of society?
I'm just ahead of the curve. I'm not going against it.
Right.
Everything will move this way. There is no way for people to not come back to nature. It's
going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Even if
The earth will call back her children. It is.
That's a big metaphor.
Yeah, she will.
Yeah.
We cannot. I'm just far ahead of the curve, I imagine, for a long, long time, but
That's true.
I'm not against the tide. What am I against the tide about? The fact that I, at 40 don't have children, live in a tent, I'm financially not really, like, against the tide would be things like, okay, I'm not working towards conventional financial stability, kuch alag hi karte rahe. But
Right.
as far as living with nature comes,
That's so true. I mean, we
Just
seldom
ahead.
think about that one day when we'll go back to the earth. Whatever method, like you
udhar
said,
hi
it is.
jana hai.
I'm going to go a little technical here because I felt that was needed. When I did a bit of research on this, I was like, whoa, what is this Gaia hypothesis?
Aha.
Could you explain this in the form of examples for the audience?
So just to
Just as you would do to the school kids, like you've found a way to them.
it can be said in a very simple. So the Gaia hypothesis has a lot of non-believers in it also. There's a lot of controversy around the Gaia hypothesis.
But Gaia is
I've just come to that. Gaia is the Greek goddess of the earth. Gaia is also a calico cat who will be walking around somewhere. She's a tortie at the farm as well. But Gaia is essentially the Greek goddess of the earth. Protecterra, our organization, Terra is the Latin goddess of the earth. And the Gaia hypothesis proposed by a gentleman called James Lovelock talks about the fact that the earth always maintains her equilibrium. Now the non-believers say that's not possible. She's going to go topsy-turvy. Very simply put. When I'm talking to the child about the Gaia hypothesis, obviously I don't use the word hypothesis because that is
it's
where
a
you throw somebody
reality.
off.
I've thought about it for a minute. I'm like, why do we call it a hypothesis?
Yeah, because science. Something I always tell the kids is science is limited, despite the fact that I'm a master's of science. Empirical science is very limited in its knowledge right now. What spirituality has spoken for millions of years, science is just starting to catch up with it, and science is based on disproving something and proving something, as opposed to there are some things that you just surrender to. And when I speak to kids, and if I were to, you said to give it in examples, you know, think of a forest. Think of a forest with various different trees of various different shapes and sizes. Do you go and water a forest? Do you go look after it? Is it not going to grow still? Is it not going to look after itself? I mean, are we really this egoistic and short sighted and full of ourselves to imagine that we create something on the earth? It's the fact that the earth is one living, breathing organism. And what happens here at the farm is going to impact the city of Pune, whether or not you or I like it. It is going to have a ripple effect somewhere or the other in terms of the birds that move from here to there, the trees that release the oxygen, the water that is catching in this catchment that we are creating is going to help the land here. And the land has no borders, boundaries, they're human concepts.
Yeah.
Birds don't fly back and forth saying आप हिंदू हो हम मुसलमान है ये इंडिया है ये पाकिस्तान है, they're just doing the thing.
Right.
I mean, of course you can still go and catch a pigeon which is supposed to be a spy or something.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
about
yeah,
that news
yeah,
that came,
yeah, I
right?
do.
Which is such a, it's a screwed up human thing. When you look at Gaia, when you look at the earth, you look at her children, we being one of them, it's in perfect harmony if we're not fucking with it.
Absolutely.
The sun, so an example I give kids always, because we talk about inclusivity with the children a lot, we talk about empathy with the children a lot. How do you show it? And I take the example of the sun. I said, does the sun rise every morning saying Azad is not a Hindu and Pooja is not, curvy enough, or you're too fat, or I don't know, whatever shit that we differentiate between people? No, the sun rises and touches everybody with the same amount of light. Be that light. I keep telling my kids, I said, be like the sun, light up everything. Don't differentiate, because the sun isn't differentiating, then who gives us the right to differentiate? I said, the tree isn't saying I'm releasing this oxygen only for Simba.
Yeah.
Nobody else can have it. That is essentially the way I understand this. That she's one living, breathing organism and she's not differentiating between anything. It's a very human concept for us to create these exclusive systems, because it's about control again.
Sometimes I feel it's only the child that would understand this as well.
Yeah. Oh gosh, try talking to people about when I say that the farm is not a commodity, it's a community. I can't tell you how many adults try to wrestle the answer. But ownership kiski hai? Zameen kiski hai? I said, how can you own land? How can you own land? I said, the land belongs to the earth. For now, I'm the primary caregiver to it. I said, but the land belongs to the earth. Nobody, nahi. But court mein jayega to kisi ka to naam jayega. I said, my God, you just want this answer, don't you? Who owns this land? Children never ask that.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit. They're just like, yeah, we're all living here together. It's all community. Oh, look at these trees. It's incredible. But all you have to do is give them until the age 7, 8, 9, and they've flipped. They've gone into this.
The natural disposition has been disposed.
Yeah. We do it all the time. So it's for the adult to really think of what we are giving the children. You said earlier about a better planet, right? You said about leaving a better tomorrow. And something we do at Protecterra all the time is that in order to leave a sustainable planet, we have to leave a kinder children to her. She's going to be here far beyond us. Yeah. We just need to leave kinder people to the planet. The planet doesn't need saving. She's been here billions of years before us, and she's going to be here for billions of years after us.
Matter of fact, if the people weren't there, she'd repair herself.
COVID, what we just spoke about.
Yeah.
All it took was a bunch of us to be told, Jara andar baitho. And the wildlife was back on the streets, and the smog had cleared out, and the skies were clear, and the air was crisper. I mean, she's a mechanism that is far wiser than us, and we don't even understand. Abhi kahi to abhi science is starting to look at mycelium networks and understand them. Understanding that trees speak to each other.
That's amazing, the mycelium network.
It's mind-blowing. It is so cool.
Okay, I'm going to just relate to
It's
that.
magic. It's magic. To me, the Gaia hypothesis is like magic. And I keep telling children, just think of it. When you look at the moon in the sky, that one little white dudette, depending on which language you speak in, both male, female, but that one little white blob in the sky is lighting up a billion lives. She's touching every single thing. And I said, look at the magic in it. I said, you wake up with a functioning body, just look at its magic. The earth and her systems are magic. Trying to explain them is diminishing her magnanimity.
And I think if I was to speak to an adult to make them understand the so-called hypothesis which is supposed to be a reality, it's like you having a cut on yourself, and then your whole body develops a fever as a mechanism. So one small thing affects the whole you. But then you need to understand that fever is just your complete body attacking this to secure and fight whatever infection or so.
But we take medicine and we kill it, and it's a beautiful metaphor to explain what you're saying.
Yeah. Because you're just, it's auto repairing. It's just us, like you said, we screw it up.
Yeah. And it's just like the earth, yeah. We've got the same 5 elements. She's 70% water, we are 70% water. We have the same elements that she has. We need the same stuff that she does.
That's amazing.
The 3 simple things that we need to survive: soil, water and oxygen. Humanity has not been able to invent it or create it. बाकी सब अबे चांद पे आप जाके किसी को रख दो.
All you do is just take some air from the Himalayas, put it into a bottle and sell it.
And then it gets expired, though it's been there for that long. You heard about that one?
No.
So Himalayan rock salt has been in the Himalayas for millions of years.
Right.
But the moment it comes in a bottle, it has an expiry date of 2 years. Just think about it. Right? These are the way the systems are. I mean, we can go on and on about this. But just coming back to the fact that it's magic. It's magic. It's magic every day. Every day I sit in this chair, the cats come around, they're chilling, the sun that shines on my face, and I'm just like, my God, every day you show up.
Indeed.
And you're not differentiating between him and me and the tree and the cup and the tomatoes and whatever else.
Yeah.
Why can I not just emulate even a little bit of that?
Right.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. It's about opening eyes to people.
Okay. I'd like to put the limelight on your personal projects. You've got many of them. Protecterra, the Young Naturalist Club, the Kindness Club, and there's lots more. What are they? Probably the most important or groundbreaking ones amongst them. Or I'm sure everything is important for you, but then what are they, and how did that happen? Where is it leading to?
So let me demystify a couple of things. So Protecterra Ecological Foundation is an organization. Okay, it's a not-for-profit. Under it are all these different initiatives.
Right.
So Protecterra is like the mothership. And under Protecterra you have the farm, which is a physical space, which was born from I was talking about being in love with nature, but there weren't spaces that were examples of love and connecting with nature at its purest form as much as possible. That is how the farm was born. The farm, of course, is extremely special, extremely path-breaking, way ahead of its curve where we started. But it isn't our first project. Our first project, which is the closest to my heart and which I think is, possibly the most... If you had to ask me to stop doing everything, that would be the one thing I would really fight harder for. That is the Young Naturalist Club. It started off being called the Book and Nature Club. Started back in 2010, before Protecterra was even formed.
Okay.
And it started off with the fact that I'm an avid book collector, as has been the theme of my life. I read a lot. And all the books, padne ke baad bas, they were sitting dusty in the library. So kya kare? So let's open up these books to children to read.
Right.
Let me read them Mora. Let me read them the Kaziranga Trail. Let me take the legacy that my mother and my father gave me and bring it to children. That is how it started.
Right.
And it has now, 13 years later, led to a bunch of marine biologists, wildlife biologists, sociologists, people who are working in change in their own ways. We have chefs who have been part of our system who are choosing to follow their dreams. So it hasn't been that my aim has been to create more wildlifers, or my aim has been to create more people who work in environment. It has always been that I would like to enable children, enable people to follow their truest self and live their most authentic self. If that means you need to be an industrialist, be an industrialist. ठीक है, it might not be the environmentally most friendly option out there, but that doesn't mean we don't need industry. You and I rely on industry in any case. Be an industrialist with a heart. Be a person who cares. Think about it. Wherever you go, take this. And that the Young Naturalist Club has been the one which has been incredible. So it's a set of children who come every week for a few hours. Now we have the farm, so they're actually able to engage with nature, which is such a gift. Earlier, it used to run in a small outhouse in the city in Aund, and there was a tree outside that we used to climb. We used to go for little field trips and stuff like that. But it was wildlife. Then they became 12 or 13, and they wanted to talk about other kinds of wildlife. The conversations changed, and that's how the Kindness Club was born. So each of our projects is interconnected with each other, interdependent on each other, and cross pollinates a lot. They're not standalone entities that have no connection with each other.
Something that struck me when we were just having a casual discussion was about how, what you've just said, the kids who've become these so-called chefs or professionals.
Agents of change.
Yes.
That's the language we use.
And you've been with them all these years. Instead, a lot of us, we say we want to just be with nature or give back, and we just attend some cleanup activity or some one-time event, and we just say, yes, we've done it. Hoo-ha, we got a certificate.
Yeah.
But what you've done is something of that guru shishya kind of like a thing, right? Like you've modeled, or not, I wouldn't say remodel, you brought them back to that natural disposition too, probably, right? You read the books to them, you developed the connect, and they kept that connection with you up until the time when they've said, yes, I am now a such and such. I don't like the word professional, but
Yeah,
that is what they are.
that is what I
They've
do,
turned into. So that is, I don't know the right word, but that method of shiksha is I give my arm and leg to have a guru who I can like just touch their feet or seek their blessing.
I'll tell you something here that I would so we do these full moon and new moon circles, and they're always in a circle.
Right.
And something I always tell people is, I'm not the guru, you're not the shishya, because there is a very subtle ego that comes in that, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
A lot of people will beg to differ on it. With the children we work with the people we work with, sure, I will not be terribly humble and say that I didn't play a role. Of course, the organization and what we do and what I bring to the table plays a role. But I have learnt more. What children do is they keep you honest, because they ask you point blank. And I don't want to bullshit to them. And I think the reason they stick around, and it's not them who stick around, right? It is them who liking it, but it is immense credit to the parents because they enable their children to stick around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it's not like our programs are free. There's an attached cost to it. There's an attached commitment to it. Thank you for the compliment you paid, but honestly, it is not. We haven't forged a top-down relation. We forged a friendship. All of us have become a co-created community, which is why we stick around.
Right.
Because we are a social ape. We're not an isolated ape. I'm a biologist at the heart of it. I will always take back to biology with the fact that we are a social ape. We like being in social setups.
Right.
And we're all seeking, nobody likes to be necessarily in an aggressive setup all the time.
Yeah.
We are seeking gentleness. We are seeking places that help us nurture our, care and empathy. It's a very natural disposition, and we seek it in our adult forms as well.
Don't talk about empathy, yeah. I mean, if there's anything that I feel that needs to be taught in schools here,
Yeah.
it's empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Compassion
I've
and
heard about,
empathy.
I don't know, was it Finland or some place? Like they don't even start school up until a particular age, and all they're doing is just having that community which they call a school, but they're taking them to the woods and teaching them empathy, how to empathize with nature and animals. And
Yeah.
when are we going to reach that?
We're there, no? We show it. See, that's the thing. Even the largest, most jackassy person you know, who has been nothing short of immensely cruel and mean and nasty, will have a point where it's like a Hindi movie. माँ पे जाओ तो सबकी एम्पैथी आएगी. सबके पास है.
Yes.
पर दिखाने के लिए या तो वक्त नहीं है या तो इंटरेस्ट नहीं है.
Right.
It's not that it's not there. I'll keep going back
Unless
to the
somebody
fact
calls out your mom.
I mean, because of Hindi movies and the landscapes we grow up in, बस माँ पे जाओ सबकी एम्पैथी आ जाती है.
Exactly.
But everybody has a home calling towards compassion, towards empathy. For some it might be animals, for some it might be nature, for some other people it might be their family, for somebody else it might be something else. But everybody has it in them.
Right.
But we've shut those doors because we've been asked to. We as a people have been groomed into being switched off.
Yeah.
By systemically the way we are expected to be.
I'll come to the system in a bit. And I don't know if this is the right question, but how do you feel after you've progressed this much? Like, do you feel that the majority of the population is still not interested to take care of our surroundings?
The majority of the population is not aware of how to take care of themselves.
Right.
Surrounding तो बाद में आता है.
That's true.
Look at sugar.
Yeah.
Everybody knows sugar is no good for you. It's not stopping us from having it. Again, something that relatable I tell children all the time is what is good for the planet is inherently good for you. When you start to eat healthy, you're also taking care of her. When you start to do stuff that is good for you, you inherently choose kinder options for the earth. It isn't a case of us looking after our surroundings. I think it is, we all look after our surroundings to the extent that we look after our home, we look after our car, we look
after our home and clean it, but we later...
Correct. Because also systemically, there aren't solutions to we are a short-sighted species, Azad. We are a very short-sighted species. So plastic, we demonize plastic, but plastic is an unbelievable product. It's such a phenomenal invention. There is nothing that is as incredible as plastic as a product. Okay? Yeah, it's cheap, it's durable, it's it's convenient, it's everything.
We're holding it.
It's not like it's hello, this is Tadi. Hello, Janan. The challenge has been we never thought about its lifeline.
Yeah.
The short-sightedness is the challenge. And again, the more you look around right now, the more I tell this in colleges and schools that the one movement that is globally being spoken about is climate change, is environment. Women's rights are not spoken about in every country.
Right.
Children's rights are not. Freedom is not. Climate change, there is not a nation that isn't talking about. They might be disagreeing with it.
Yeah.
That is different.
Yeah.
बात तो हो रही है.
I'll come to that as well. It is
बात तो हो रही है.
बात तो हो रही है. Yes.
Conversation है.
Yes.
अभी वो conversation drive करना ज़रूरी है.
Yes.
वो conversation को क्या solution है? आप बोलेंगे plastic use मत करो. This is something I learned 10 years ago when I started Protecterra.
Bisleri देना.
Bisleri देना.
हाँ. But the water's everywhere.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
Put it in a bottle, sell it.
Yes.
वो systems अलग है. My concern has been deeper. Saying no is easy. Say no to plastic. What is the alternative? On a hot summer's day, I want to bring ice cream back for my mother. Without it melting.
Right.
In my hands or my bag. What is my alternative to plastic? Ye bata.
There isn't any.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. And I have always tried to focus Protecterra's work in trying to create solutions rather than saying no. जहाँ नहीं बोलना possible नहीं है और मेरे पास this is why the shift to the farm. The shift to the farm happened from a place of hypocrisy. I'm living in a plush apartment, living up my life with 40 pairs of shoes and a bunch of dresses, driving a swanky car. How the fuck can I go and tell people to do something I am not able to do?
Yeah.
And that shift was when I eventually came to the farm and I'm like, let me first live it.
Yeah.
If I can do it, you can do it.
Absolutely.
You know, or I can at least show you the way that it's possible. Whether you do it is a different thing. मुझे नहीं मैं जीरो वेस्ट नहीं promote करती हूँ. Not zero waste, not WAIST, WASTE. I've had a joke like this that happened once, which is why I clarify it always. But I do not tell people try and hit zero waste. I keep trying to tell them think where you can reduce it, because I haven't been able to crack it.
Right.
It's there all the time. So I think more than surroundings, this is Oslo. I think more than just taking care of our surroundings, it's about saying no is not enough. Presenting an alternate is very necessary. Until we don't or cannot do that, we are being unfair to each other. Because we are being preachy.
Right. Coming to preaching, you've mentioned this quote by Osho that we must stop talking about the golden past, and instead we must start talking about the golden future. I don't think I've said it right.
It's similar, but you got the gist.
So in the eyes of many, this is what's known as urban development, because that's the golden future for a lot of us. Massive structures, roads, ports, factories, that's progress. And if that doesn't happen in a place like mine, because I'm rural, it's underdeveloped. And these are driven by governments who support commerce. So this is where I'm coming to the system part of it. I'm not a person who's completely against development too, so please don't misjudge. But we could make roads, but when you do, why don't you do it like how it is in Kerala, where I come from? The thing is, if you just take an aerial shot from a drone, you'd hardly even see the road because it's just covered by trees. So that can happen, right? Like this for every 100 meters of a road that's constructed, somebody could by default plant X number of trees in and around that road, but that's not part of the project at all. So that's I mean, for me, there's always a system that can fill both sides, like create the road, but then make that environment where the road provides shade, and it is possible. Walking through those roads at night time, trust me, I sense it. I love night walks there because it's just so full of trees. It is a commercial road no matter what.
Yeah.
But then there's less traffic at night, and all those trees are emitting that, cool air. So for me, there's an example in some place else for us to do something somewhere else. And the question is, this middle approach, why do you think the policymakers don't have it as part of their agenda? Because it's just, we have such brilliant minds, we have the IITs, the IIMs and all these kind of stuff. But when it comes to just development of such things, where is a disconnect in the education that doesn't say, when you create a road, make sure the surroundings are also taken care of? So once the road matures, there's enough around it that balances the whole thing. Why is that happening? What do you think?
Were you taught environment studies at school?
Never. I think
Neither was I.
that physics, chemistry, biology.
Neither was I. And our leaders, who are certainly a little older than us right now, didn't learn it either. Neither did our policymakers. Again, I'll be optimistic on the front that the global south, all our developing nations, are still the custodians of the world's highest biodiversity. India's resilience to live with its large mammals and snakes and venomous animals in its backyards is phenomenal. You don't see it in Europe, you don't see it in America. They're shot at sight or captured because they're dangerous. Okay, So as the global, I mean, across the African continent, it's the same. Across Latin America, it's the same. The global south are the custodians of biodiversity and nature, and we are figuring out, and we are also the most populated. I mean, India is the most populated country in the world right now. For 2 billion people to coexist with wildlife in itself is a medal. It's phenomenal, and our resilience and coexistence is mind blowing when you think about it. Development is inevitable, it is necessary, and like you say, क्यों नहीं सोचते? I'll go back to my first answer. We are a very short-sighted species. हम किसी और का ख्याल रखने को सोचते ही नहीं है. And we are also inherently extremely selfish. Both you and I. Selflessness is very altruistic in nature. There is no truly selfless
I feel like a
situation.
hypocrite.
None of us. All of us are. You know, one very wise person told me that, Pooj, when you start to accept that all of us have prejudices, no, you'll make your life damn easy. Don't put yourself on this pedestal that you're not a hypocrite or you don't have prejudices. My God, I'm fucking prejudiced and I have I'm hypocritical about several different things. Once I accept that, it at least allows me to see my shadow and my blind spots, to be able to say, hey,
It's there.
I notice it, I know it, I try to work on it, or I'm going to, this is me. At least you're not bullshitting to yourself.
That's true.
Right? But to go back to systems, because our conversations can deviate a lot, clearly,
Yeah.
you and I. Again, emerging development projects don't have a choice but to put environment first. More and more roads that are being built are putting in mitigation measures. Not enough, and maybe too little too late, but ho to raha hai. And again, I will go back to the fact that she has been around for longer. One little road is not necessarily going to hamper what she's eventually going to achieve. When I talk about Terra, Gaia,
That's true.
Bhumi, Dharti, Avni, whatever you call her.
Yeah.
Right? She will figure it out. It is us and the fellow creatures that we live with that will pay the price.
Right. And you've quoted previously, quote unquote, let's not say what is evil. Instead, let's talk about what is possible. Now, this possibility of solutions to the ecological tampering that's taking place, there's no one size fits all solution. We have the older aged, probably more influential people. That's one set of the target audience. You have this huge middle class running around, working communities. Then you have the youth, full of zeal, concern. Maybe they have issues, especially with the older groups themselves.
Intergenerational issues are a thing. You know?
Yes, exactly.
We had issues with our parents will have issues with our children, they'll always just be a
Right.
thing.
And every group is in their own comfort zone. That's another issue. So as for me, like, I remember this coming across this was a message. It was a marketing fact, and it said that coffee, I mean, Japanese culture is more so around tea. I don't know how true this is, but the coffee brands wanted to penetrate into the market, but they couldn't. No matter how much products they tried to put on the shelves, it just didn't happen. So eventually what they did was they focused on the children and they came up with coffee flavored ice cream. And the children took it up, and over a period of decades, the coffee taste was accepted, because when they grew up, they were like, we want our cafes. So this was like something that they worked on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So much. See, that's not very short-sighted, is it?
It is not. So, I mean, I don't know. I've lost my train of thought, but but it's not too late to turn another generation into the policymakers of tomorrow,
Not at all.
right? Like what have you thought or experienced as positive, practical ways to educate and train people of all these groups, and you know, I don't know, at least at the bare minimum, teach them to stop trashing the place around. How does it work for a grown ass person versus a.
You
And
use the children, man. There's a reason I work with kids. Because once the kid goes home and demands something, the adult doesn't have a choice but to accept. The parent is a sucker to the child.
right.
Right? And I think somewhere the parent also understands that the child is trying to be better or kinder or more
Yeah,
compassionate.
yeah.
And then denying them that is a ridiculous thing.
Right.
Like I grew up when my dad used to still throw trash out of his car window. Until I was like, what are you doing?
Yes.
And he stopped. He doesn't do it anymore.
Oh,
But nobody told him. It was so normal for him.
I had this hurtful sight a few months back where, these ghat roads. So obviously, when you go around, people feel like vomiting. Some of them do. So they actually, I saw this site where they stopped a car, and I'm like, why are they stopping in the middle? There's nothing there to get out and take pictures. They just threw a bag, and I saw a monkey come, open the bag, and trying to eat,
Yeah.
and it was vomit. Ew.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I put this in, but for me, it's just like what you said.
It's very distressing. And this is somewhere where I take massive mental health. Like eco-anxiety is a real thing. To see sites like this is just heartbreaking. To see, I mean, we don't work in animal welfare per se, but we are still coexisting at the farm with 40 animals on any given day. And to look at animals suffering around with only on the increase is heart wrenching. It really it's something I genuinely, it haunts me. I feel very helpless. But one spiritual guru, one spiritual teacher, mentor of mine told me I go back to what he told me about, linking it back to a conversation about systems, developments, the helplessness, the inability to change certain things. He told me, पूजा तेरे कर्म में है ये देखना और उसके कर्म में है वो जीना.
Okay.
तेरे कर्म में जब होगा जाके सेवा करनी है तू करेगी.
Right.
मगर तेरे कर्म में नहीं है तो उसके ऊपर रो मत.
That's true.
Accept somewhere that each tree, each animal, each being also has their journey that they are making. It is something that they have, and I am a believer of more lives than one, of the fact that, and now quantum physics understands energy a little bit and says that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It always kind of just sticks around. That's exactly what the concept of Shiva was. He's the creator, not the destroyer. So spiritual stories link up to a lot of modern day science now.
Right.
And I'm a firm believer in a lot of these things by embodiment, by experience. That somewhere, as heart-wrenching as it is, this is a journey they have chosen for some reason.
Right.
That suffering, that pain, that misfortune that we see,
I can throw my trash out, कोई और संभाल लेगा.
वो मेरी journey थी. It's disgusting to think about it like that. Doesn't mean you go into inaction
Right.
at all. Do stop that person, try to speak to them, let them know. But again, who wants to walk around? What is easier, Azad? Keeping your vomit bag in your car for the next 3 hours and stinking up your car, or just dumping it?
Yeah.
We like convenience.
That's true.
It's convenient. Now, whoever was sitting in that car probably couldn't control the vomit and, threw up in that bag. But they're not going to keep that vomit bag in their car. It's convenient. Give me the solution. How would you change that situation? I wouldn't keep a vomit bag. At best, I would go empty my vomit and wash the bag and bring it back. That would be my solution.
And probably dig a hole, put it in, cover it up. Nah,
Something
it's
like
too much.
maybe not even, because it's biodegradable.
Yeah.
And as gross as it is for you and me, it was still food for that monkey who might have been starving.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Like, I mean, these are very controversial conversations to have because, but I just try to keep thinking of it from all angles. We had a dog that lived at the farm that was paralyzed, had been hit by a car. And I believe animals live lives of immense dignity. It is them coming into an undignified state because of our actions a lot of the times. Anyway, this long story short, this dog, started deteriorating more and more and more. And one morning was found lying in his own feces and his own urine in the mud, was not able to get up. And I kept looking at him, and I was just he was named Boyfriend. And I kept looking at Boyfriend, and I'm like, I need Why are you suffering? So this was when the Guruji gave me this.
All right.
And I told him, I said, I said, bas usko, let me end his suffering.
Yeah.
And like, मुन्ना तू आज उसका सफरिंग एंड करेगी तो वो उसका प्रारब्ध पूरा नहीं करेगा.
Right.
वो वापस जन्म लेगा और उसका प्रारब्ध पूरा करने आएगा और उस जन्म में शायद उसको तू नहीं मिलेगी.
Oh yeah.
आज तू है, सेवा कर, खुद ब खुद जाएगा वो.
Oh yeah.
3 weeks later he left. What I started doing was giving him permission that you don't need to do this suffering, leave, I'm here for you. 3 weeks later he had left. At
Yeah.
least he completed whatever karmic cycle he had.
Yes.
Now this is a tough one to crack because I had to live with that suffering. I would cry right now. It's just
Yeah.
I've spoken about this so many times that I don't tear up anymore. But it's repeated.
Yeah.
And I think just somewhere, just to close that in my own head, na, I think somewhere I am not at all telling people to go into ये कर्म ही है ना तो inaction करो. नहीं भाई, आपके कर्म में भी action करना है.
Even the authorities could imbibe things in us, couldn't they? I mean, I've seen places abroad. You get thrashed for littering.
Yeah. That hasn't stopped it though. It's
But
like capital punishment isn't the solution to crime.
but it does decrease immensely.
Perhaps. I do think that the global north is better at some of the civic sense things. आपके और मेरे स्कूल में civics से 10 मार्क का ऑप्शनल हिस्ट्री के बाद सब्जेक्ट था.
Yeah.
आप प्लीज हिस्ट्री पढ़ो और उसमें 90 मार्क लाओ, वो civics का 10 मार्क छोड़ दो.
Right.
Civics को बनाओ ना 90 मार्क.
Right.
It's an instilling. Like
Yeah.
I said, did anybody teach you environment education growing up? No. I
No.
was lucky that my parents had a connection with nature and they showed me stuff. My dad didn't grow up like that until somebody came along which was in his daughter's form and said ki baba hey karu noko.
Yeah.
So it's a question of like Protecterra's tagline is people only do as much as they're aware of. It is our responsibility to raise that awareness. It is not my responsibility to make you do this. It is my duty and responsibility for what I have chosen to raise Azad's awareness.
Yeah.
Then he will perhaps at least have an option.
Yeah.
Today he doesn't know another way.
Yeah.
Just raise awareness. Keep telling people that here are these options, pick.
Okay.
And when you pick it, I'm not forcing you to.
Yeah. Let's talk about climate change for a while. Are you one of those who believe that fossil fuels are the reason for this?
The extraction of humanity is the reason for this.
Yeah. Okay.
Fossil. एक बात आप समझ लो कि
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing.
ये symptoms है. Climate change is a symptom of a deeper problem.
But that's the thing. The narrative is made to blame it on fossil fuels. Like, what the hell?
Because it's which person. I want to go back to something you said earlier though. You said about systems na and about authorities. Let me bring something to our listeners that the authorities are also just human beings. They're also flawed. I keep telling the kids I work with that your parents are people first.
Yeah.
They became a parent when you came into the world. Nobody taught them how to be a parent. Allow yourself to forgive their mistakes because they're just learning alongside you. It's the same way with our authorities and our policy makers and this thing. They are not a machinery. They are just people. Inherently flawed just like you and I. Learning just like you and I. To lay and demand drives supply.
Yeah.
Are you and I demanding enough of organic vegetables? No, because it's more expensive. The day that demand increases, the supply
Prices.
chain will change.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think the responsibility is on communities like ours, people, individuals, collectives to start demanding the right things. We have become a people who say chalta hai too much.
And
Chalta
we
hai nahi
become
hai,
a people who, if they say, oh, demand's high, let's price it up.
yeah. Which is fine. Eventually the
It'll come.
economics padenge to wo niche aayega.
It will. Yeah.
It will have to come down.
Yeah.
It's like blood diamond says, no, the diamond has been kept rare. Diamonds are not rare.
Yeah.
They've been made rare so that you can keep that supply chain expensive.
Yeah.
It isn't necessarily
Yeah,
the case. It's
true.
the same way it works. Keep it elusive, then you can ask for more. Fuck that. Like fuck how the economic system works, right? It's about we don't ask enough. We're too scared to speak up.
For the right stuff.
So my girlfriend tells a very beautiful saying. When we scream alone, we are called hysterical. When we scream together, we are called historical.
Okay.
Bringing people together and talking about the correct things is extremely important. And then it starts to affect change. It's the only thing that ever has. Mahatma Gandhi was one guy. Nelson Mandela was one guy. Martin Luther King was one guy. Wangari Maathai was one woman. They were single people who believed in their passion, drove it, and changed it.
Right.
They were not people of stature to start off with. No? It's the same with McDonald's, I tell people.
Yeah.
McDonald's दो भाई थे जिन्होंने बर्गर बनाया.
Oh yeah.
बस उधर ही तो चालू हुआ था ना. Look at where they are.
So they can be the Mahatma Gandhis of climate change. Greta Thunberg or whatever.
Yeah. 100%.
You've mentioned about Costa Rica in one of your podcasts. Like how they are the first or the only country to not have a military. And correct me if I'm wrong, because if that is the fact, I've not done any background check on this, but they've diverted all military expenditure towards sustainability.
Sustainable forestry.
Wow. And this is because, like, we take the planet for granted, and it's like we've just inherited it. So kya, you know? That's the attitude. And we care less for the fact that this planet is something. This is what we're leaving our children with, not the wealth, the possessions, or whatever. Actually, it is the soil, the air, the water, those elements that you mentioned.
We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children.
Right.
It's a Native
Yes,
American
yes.
proverb.
You said this. So, and we strive just to leave that material world. The whole life we just strive to just leave behind that wealth to our children. That's about it. I mean, a lot of us genuinely have concerns. We just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Like, who are the change makers in India? Where did they take their knowledge from? Or what are they doing right now in terms of activism or actual impact? And how do you join hands?
Change is there in every household, every community. Wherever you look, people are creating change in their own ways. Now you align with a certain cause, like my cause is awareness, spiritual ecology, environment education, right? The solution that we as an organization at Protecterra have provided is also very unique and very different by, the farm and the kind of work we're doing. It's a little different from what a lot of other people do. Number one, accepting that you can't do all. सब कुछ आप नहीं कर सकते.
Well, yeah.
I cannot do the animal welfare and the plastic and the waste management, and I mean, if I have to, I will. But finding the people that Azad का strength ये है, वो ये कर रहा है. Join hands and tell him. But this has to come from an immense amount of security about yourself. What happens is the ego mind creates these exclusive systems where we don't want to collaborate. We want
We
to
just
get
ask
our
Google.
own. Yeah. we want to ask for our own. Somewhere where I personally am very comfortable organizationally and as a human being is sharing. Sharing and giving as much as possible, because that's what the earth teaches you.
Yeah.
You say, right, that you just said something that we take her for granted. We take her for granted because she's giving and she's not asked for anything in return. क्या मांग रही है वो?
Yeah.
Nothing she's asking for, which is why we take it for granted. क्योंकि आज तक उसने बंद ही नहीं किया है.
Yeah.
अभी थोड़ा क्लाइमेट वो शिफ्ट करने लगी है हमारे हिसाब से, तो हम डर गए.
Yes.
बस इतना सा.
Yes.
Half a degree.
Yes.
In collaboration, I think it's very necessary to be transparent. Yeah, there are so many people doing such incredible work. Just like a few days from before this recording, we had what is known as the Conscious Living Fair, which started as an initiative to bring people together. So there was people who are making sustainable skincare products, and it stemmed from the fact that they were not able to buy their children something that was not bad for their skin. So they started it at home. They made it a small business. So the big terms in sustainable living currently are local living economies. So not supporting the multinational, supporting local living economies, because you reduce your carbon footprint directly when you go to something local. So local living economies and closed loop systems, where you know where the loop closes. Right now, I don't know where the loop closes when I buy a soda. I don't know where that bottle goes back.
Oh, yeah.
But when I go to a local vendor, he's going to call for that bottle back.
Oh yeah.
बचपन में हम वो ₹1 एक्स्ट्रा भरते थे डिपॉजिट का to give the glass bottle back, and you used to get that ₹1 back if you remember.
That's so true.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's a closed loop system. The future is ancestral.
Yeah. There you go.
It's all been there.
Yes.
I learned this from a Brazilian friend, that the future is an ancestral wisdom. It was all there. We are just relearning some of these things in a better way. Technology is an immense boon. Development has made it simpler for people to make certain choices. What would have been so difficult earlier will become simpler today. But I think closed loop systems and local living economies, to me, are an answer. However, minimalism to an extent has to come in. The basic idea of consumption patterns needs to change.
Not the 40 shoes.
Not
The 40 shoes that you've had.
precisely. Do I need them? I have 2 feet and 7 days in the week. So I always ask the question to the kids. I ask them to ask themselves. I ask myself all the time, do I need this or do I want this? And sometimes I surrender to the fact that I want this. I want to be splurging and be insensitive. But at least accepting that I don't need this. I just want this.
Yeah.
The other thing that was very interesting that happened in COVID, I was working with an economist on one of my courses. What he brought to the table was, what did COVID tell humanity to do? COVID told humanity to consume what we need. It collapsed global economies.
Yeah.
Because we were not consuming mindlessly anymore.
Right.
Then look at how fickle our economic systems are and how based they are on just mindless consumption.
Yes.
It's almost propaganda, if
Even
I
the
dare say it.
doctors went jobless.
When there lots of doctors who had jobs in COVID. Yeah.
That's true as well.
But I think it's asking the question, what is it that I want? What is it that I need? And then making that choice mindfully. It's the simplest advice or simplest insight that I would give to anyone in terms of becoming sustainable. I am not going to come and tell you, come live on a tent on a farm. That's a choice I made.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you to become vegan. I'm not going to tell you, go do this, because this is my job is to present your buffet. That here, Azad, these are options that are kinder to you, to the planet, to people around you. You pick and choose what works for you and your reality. How can I tell you to live my life?
Right.
How stupid of me.
Pooja, what's planned for the times ahead?
I don't know if I'm waking up tomorrow, so I don't plan ahead too much. But
But still,
honestly,
yeah.
I mean, I genuinely don't plan ahead that much in life. Something I probably might and should do.
Something for people to take up and then move.
Organizationally, the 3 things that we are working on currently is decentralizing, because Protecterra just became a teenager a couple of days ago.
Okay.
And so decentralizing is very necessary. Right now it's been my baby. It's ready to be decentralized. So I'm really actively working on decentralizing, making it more system oriented than person oriented. Also organizationally starting to build up a financial corpus to be able to scale up. So when we talk about scale up, it's not about creating more farms. It's about increasing impact, reaching more people, creating opportunities for more people to follow their passion, to join the movement. I believe that Protecterra is almost like a small movement that is can only grow in its impact and its geographical spread. So organizationally, a bunch of things like this, where we want to start more satellite outposts, more outreach programs, reach more people, more hearts.
And how can anyone connect with Pooja if they want to be part of this?
The best way is to either find me on Instagram,
Okay.
or to ping me on Instagram, and then I'd send a WhatsApp number over for people to connect over WhatsApp. The other way is to write me an email.
Okay.
And I'm sincere about replying to every phone call, every message,
Right.
every email that has come my way in 13 years. I would say that very few have gone unanswered.
Okay.
That's probably because I forgot rather than lack of interest. But I don't think that people need me to do stuff. I think people need to just follow the correct accounts on Instagram, find the right people, seek information. If the news can give you nasty shit, the news also holds the capacity to give you very good shit.
That's true.
And I think we just need to, for anybody out there, just go seek the things that matter to you.
All right.
Just open your eyes a little bit. Open your eyes to the good stuff. Open your eyes to the things that you care about. And go find them. There are 100 pujas, 1,000 million pujas in the world. doing stuff in their own capacities. Find somebody closer to you. Please don't leave somewhere and come here. Uska bhi ek carbon footprint hota hai.
Yes.
We will help you find somebody local or find somebody who's around you. Local living economies.
Yes, yes,
Start where you are. Conservation begins at home.
that's true.
It doesn't begin somewhere else.
I mean, I don't know how to summarize this, but I did learn a lot from this talk, and I think what something I can just take in my backpack is definitely the fact that you can become a change maker, but it's just that you got to listen to what you've known when you were a child.
That's a tough one. I think I would shorten your sentence even more. I would simply say you can be a change maker. Full stop.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this discussion. I wish maybe I want a part 2 of this sometime later up.
I'd be happy to.
Stronger questions.
No, it's fun. It's been really nice, Azad. Thank you for considering the story worth telling. What we all spoke about right now is the philosophy of what this organization is based on. For people who want to connect more, there are obviously very pointed communication-based systems and
Right.
projects that we have as an organization, and we're happy to join hearts more than just hands, and that's really what we'd like to do.
Let's join hearts. Thank you. Thank you, Pooja.
Thank you, Azad.